This episode has been brought to you by Faith Bynum, CPA PC. We're more than just taxes, and we're ready to help entrepreneurs and business owners reach their goals. We offer business strategy and development, nonprofit management, outsourced CFO and accounting department, and we serve as advisors for startups, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. You're building your dream. We can help you take it to the next level. Find us at faithbynum.com and 919-858-6807. We're Faith Bynum CPA PC, where people matter.
Yeah, we in the building. 4 times dope. Yeah, we known to get it live, man. 4 times dope. New level, keep it high, yeah. 4 times dope. Mic check, now we on it, we live.
All right, bet. All right, so we can get right into it, as we always do. I just want to know how y'all day was today, Jamie, what's going on, man? How was your day?
Yeah, man, I got body checked by technology. I tried to took my daughter to the Millbrook game, and she needed $7, and I had to cash app her, but there's no phone line over there, no shit like that. So we had to ride around till I got a signal. So I was rushing to get back. Technology is not for the weary. I couldn't give it $7 cash. I had to go through the GoFan app. So I'm rushing to get back here.
Gotcha.
The game started at 7. So.
Bro, this is a new technology too. This is a different type of technology out here today, boy.
And I'm like, yeah, I got you right here. I'm typing the shit in. No signal.
Right. It was a Millbrook high school basketball game, or
yeah, they got a game tonight.
Okay.
She stayed on the games because you took it to a game last Friday when I was down there.
I sure did. Southeast Raleigh.
Okay, bet. All right. Coach, what about you? How's your day, man?
Man, I'm blessed just to be here talking to y'all, man. I can't complain, and if you do complain, nobody cares anyway. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, right?
Absolutely.
So, we just here. We just black men trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
No, that's right. Facts. All right, Quan, what's up with you, man?
It was an uneventful day. Just work, man. I had a decent weekend. I was down in North Carolina the past weekend for Martin Luther King weekend. Went visit my folks down in Wake Forest. And actually, I went to the South Carolina State game when I was down there. So good pull out, coach. I was sweating bullets a little bit, man. But you
unfortunately, all of them gonna be like that, man.
Yeah,
was that right?
Good league. It's a good league.
League games, yeah.
And last but not least, my man JJ. What's up, man? How was your day?
You know what? It was actually pretty good. I started. This is the first week back in classes. My first lecture was today. All my classes are packed. I actually got a waiting list for a couple classes, so I'm excited about knocking this semester out and getting to the summer, man. So far so good.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. And my day was what it was. Like I said, it was just a normal day, but I'm blessed to be here. So we here. So we can get right into it. But before we do, I want to introduce our guest of the evening. He is a former player of North Carolina Central University, of course, graduate 1996. He is currently he is currently the head coach of the North Carolina Central basketball team. He is the 4-time MEAC tournament championship coach and 3-time MEAC regular season championship coach. Gentlemen, give it up for Mr. LeVelle Moton.
Hey,
absolutely.
He graduated twice though from Central.
Yeah, I had to run it. I had this
double eagle.
Yeah,
like myself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what's up.
Okay, so we learned something.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Somebody know.
Right. We the all-time leading scorer for the basketball team. If I'm correct, that's correct, Coach.
What you? Okay.
I'm sorry, the all-time leading scorer for the university.
Third. I'm like 20 points behind Sam Jones and
20. Okay.
Like 20 points and something. I think Ted Manning is first or something.
Oh yeah, Ted is.
Ted
okay.
Young Ted.
Okay.
Stats.
Well, we're happy to have you here, man. Like we really are. We appreciate you coming on. So just enjoy the ride and kick it with us, and we're gonna get into these topics.
Absolutely.
Mr.
So
Jones?
yes, I got it. So listen, I wanna start with something that I think we all can kind of relate to. being men of color, whether you are in corporate America, you are in the field of academia, such as myself, sports, such as coach. But there's this myth, or is it a myth, or is it a fact about professional sports owners um, facilitating like this plantation mentality when it comes to players. And before I pass it, I just want to throw some things at you guys. And coach, I'm almost certain you're familiar with some of these numbers I'm about to throw at you guys, but also correct me if I'm wrong. When it comes to owners, professional sports owners, I think in the NFL there are only 6, and of the 6, there's only one of color. And I do know this too. I know that statistically, in the NBA, I think about 85, 86, 87% of the players are men of color. In the NFL, it's about 78, 79%, 70, something like that. Major League Baseball is only about maybe 38, 40%. And I'm saying all this to say, I'm saying that to say this. When I think about professional sports and I think about corporate America, and I even think about academia and me being a professor at the PWI, all these things are intertwined to me. And also when I think, I'll never forget this comment that Laura Ingraham made about LeBron. LeBron said something regarding politics, and she told LeBron to shut up and dribble. I don't know if you guys remember that. Back in, I think, 2018 or 2019. And to me, that was historical dog whistle commentary. Basically, that whole owner mentality, right? Spiel. So I guess my question to you guys is, because I do believe it exists. I believe that plantation owner or slave mentality is a thing. And again, I don't have time to go into the numbers, but I was going to give you guys some numbers about when integration happened with Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, and it took forever for these things to pop off. But I will say this before I pass it, though. Before, and even now, but before we were integrated, that was part of generational wealth being set back too. These guys played in their own leagues, and the money didn't generate. The blueprint of that, it still exists today when you look at gentrification, but it was just in sports. So it was gentrification, but it happened in sports. If you really look at it, break it down, and it really set back those professional athletes in terms of building wealth prior to sports being integrated. So I guess the question is, guys, let me push it. In terms of professional sports owners and the plantation mentality, do you feel as if that exists, or is it a myth? Coach, if you want to start it off, we can start with you, and you can just kind of give your spiel on it.
Yeah, it's deep, man. It's really deep. To be completely honest with you, man. Does that exist? Absolutely. Yeah. Right. And I think we know that. Look, man, we're Black men. I think we're all around the same age. And we're all just a sum total of our life experiences, right? That's who we are at our core. On the flip side, the owners are just a sum total of their life experiences, right? So let me give you a scenario. And this will probably help you put it in perspective, right? Because in my field, it's basketball, right? So it's all 6 degrees of separation, right? So I meet some incredible people along the way. I meet some owners, I meet some GMs, I meet some of everybody, right? And so everyone thinks it's racism. And please don't get it twisted. There is a level of racism that's
systematic.
Right. That's systemic and actively involved, and it's not going anywhere. It's just what it is, right? It is. But a large part of it is not racism, it's familiarity too, right? And so you have owners, you have presidents of PWI universities, you have athletic directors of Power 5 universities, and the familiarity of those individuals is to say, let's say the mantra is, hey, let's go do lunch today. Well, who are they going to do lunch with? Who are they inviting to their homes at night? It's people that look like them. right?
Right.
People that look like them, think like them, and act like them. So when it's time
Right.
for them to hire someone, they feel so much more comfortable receiving a reference from someone that they know and have had dinner and broken bread with, for the most part, right? So let's say an NFL owner, right? And it's a football team out there that I would not comment on, man, because they fans are just crazy. And I don't know how in the world someone can support this football team.
Me neither.
Right. I can't even,
I think
I
we
don't
all
even
know.
want to go there.
Yes.
I just can't, because it's one thing, we're so emotionally attached, man, that we lose just sight of real things, right?
Right.
So that owner, a picture has recently surfaced of that owner, right? And the owner's response was, "Hey, I was just
there.
Yeah, I was there. I was curious or whatever,
Just
right?"
looking.
Many would think that was a mob. What was you there for? What was you there to witness? Right? Did you see the faces of the other individuals in the picture? Right? This didn't catch you by surprise. Nobody texted you and said, "Come down here." Right? This was well thought out and planned on
Well
what was
thought
going
out.
to go down. To me, it appeared as if it was a mob that was there to just bully and do any and everything to these young Black individuals to prevent them from going into school and provide scare tactics and so on and so forth. Right. So now let's go deeper. I take into consideration that you was 14-year-old kid. None of us want to be judged by the things we did when we was 14. Right. However, let's say he's I don't know how old he is. Let's say he's 75 years old right now. So that means he was born in the 40s. So he was born in a world of Jim Crow. He was born in a world pre-versus Brown versus Board of Education. He was born in a world pre-Voters' Right Acts, Fair Housing Acts, Civil Rights, right? And so the very fortune in which he acquired his wealth is the same system that we're asking him to go against. And that don't even make sense. Right. So he's benefited from this system. And so now we're asking him at 75, 80 years old to show some sympathy and remorse and have some empathy towards people that don't look like him. And it's not just going to happen. Right. And so I just use him for example, but that's the mindset and the mentality of other owners. Right. And a large part of this is people just don't have empathy and sympathy for Black people.
They don't.
Right.
Nope.
And the reason, like, I was a public school teacher for a couple of years, and I was like, yo, it just bugged me out that if you turned in, we all took history. If you opened up your history books, it was 300 pages, and there was only 5 Black people in those history books.
Same Black 5.
Same Black 5, right? They gave you some Harriet Tubman, they gave you some Rosa Parks, they gave you some Jackie Robinson, they gave you a page of Martin Luther King.
You better believe it.
You might get, Muhammad. I don't know.
Malcolm X.
Frederick Douglass.
No, you ain't gonna get no Malcolm X.
Frederick Douglass.
The last one is Frederick Douglass. Those are the 5.
Right. But just the 5 that we could name. So think about this. If I'm a young Black kid in a public school system, I'm saying to myself, only 5 people that look like me had incredible impact on this world. Now, if I'm a white kid, I'm thinking, well, that means the other 295 pages must be about me and my
Got
people,
to be.
right? So both of them are leaving miseducated because one of them have an inferiority complex that they shouldn't have, and one of them have a superiority complex that they shouldn't have. Neither one of them have been taught properly about neither, right? And so now white folks can never empathize and sympathize with the struggles of Black folks. And so they just become adults, and now we're asking them to be adults and go back and have empathy. Frederick Douglass once said it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men, right? That's a powerful quote. When I was in 4th grade, now on the flip side of that, Black people, we've been different because when I was in 4th grade, my Black history teacher, she said, we read The Diary of Anne Frank, right? And at the end of that diary, we had to write a page essay about we had to write a page essay to the Jewish community and how our heart went out to them and how we empathize and sympathize with what happened to them. And it was a great lesson for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that needed to be done. But now, as I got older, I said, you know what? That's crazy, because nobody of any other race in the school system ever had a project where they had to write a page essay devoted to
slavery.
Black people and slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, that's when you're taught to feel. That's when you're taught to have compassion when we're that young, right? And so people have never had an opportunity to do that. And so when they become adults and they benefit from this very system that we're complaining about, we want them to change. And that's not even logical. I wouldn't do it myself if I was them. Why? I don't apply billions for this system. No, let's keep this system in place. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I like the president that made me get $1 billion. You know, why we changing city council? Why are we changing the government? No, I like these laws. I'm a billion. So that's what ultimately happens, man. And then when the social and political aspect kind of intertwine into these worlds, we want people to feel what we felt, and they can't never.
They not. Yeah.
That's the plight of the Black man right there within itself.
Absolutely. Kashara, what do you think?
Oh, this is hard for me, you know, especially not really being a sports person, but it all makes sense. Like everything that Coach just said, like kind of, as he was talking, it was making sense in my head. You know what I mean? Like I can see like the obvious was there, like with what we were just talking about, the incident of what had just surfaced. When that happened, it actually made me think about it more, because I really never thought about it before. It's kind of like one of those things you don't think about. It's just like really put in your face. Like some things we just know exist, but until it's put in your face, you actually start thinking about it more. So when that happened, I did actually think about it more. So the question I had when that happened, I was like, I wonder how many other owners feel or have that same thought process. You know what I mean? Like, because majority of the owners are white men. So I wonder how many of them actually, you know, have that same thought process, or who has been through a situation like that. It just hasn't resurfaced, you know, for them, especially if they're in his same age bracket. Like, my question to y'all is, are most of the owners in his same age bracket, or so are they, you know, younger?
No, you know what? Professional sports teams, if you really think about ownership, it reminds you of Congress. It mimics Congress. You have these older, because you got to think now, ownership comes with generational wealth, right? And so think, you know, when you talk about
group, you can have the money, but you're also going to be in a group.
But in the strength of your social circles. So when you talk about the strength of social circles and who you rubbing elbows with, Coach just mentioned that, who you know, folks getting invited to the house and sit down, and if you don't have a seat at the table and you don't have generational wealth, a lot of times folks ain't gonna speak up for you. And like Coach said, this is systemic. Like, man, listen, I'm my feet up on my desk based upon the system that's been put in place. Why am I gonna change that? I have no means. I don't want to change that. So, right.
But
Jamie, what you
do you think it? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna say, because it's so systemic and it's generational. I know racism ain't never go nowhere. I think it's here to stay. Do you think it's at some point, you know, I guess we're progression slowly, but we're getting it. It could shift like this. What you're talking about, you know, like I know it's the plantation mentality we're talking about, but is it possible to get better?
Allow me to jump in.
Yeah.
It's systematic, and it's a system that's been working so well, because this is the same group of people that kept Donald Trump out, because Trump wanted to be owner of an NFL team, which is why he took over the USFL. They knew very well to keep him out of there because he's a fucking lunatic. But in this regard, it is what it is. It's a slave owner's mentality. Like, you know, going to prison is the new way to be slaves. This is just another offshoot of it, sadly. But if we're expecting them to change, it won't be this generation. It'll be probably their kids.
So long after we're gone, what you saying?
Way long after we're gone, bro. This is a done deal. They ain't changed. We only got one in the NFL. We'll just look at that. They only got one colored owner. His name is Shad Khan, and he's not black. He's, I think, Indian.
He's Pakistani. Pakistan.
Middle Eastern or something like that. Yeah.
He's not from here. That's the only one. Everybody else. Well, I'll take that back. Walmart just bought the Broncos along with Star Wars. I forgot his name, but his wife is black. She co-owns the Broncos, so that's your black owner. That's your one.
And the Bills,
Oh, the
the
wife.
Bills, the Asian woman owns. I think she's majority owner of the Bills, the Buffalo Bills.
Will be white.
Yeah, right.
And you know that.
Right, Carmen, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a deeper, even get more deeper with it is the fact that I think if you look at the combine, right, and this was a recent discussion that happened with the NFL executive Troy Vincent, and he made a comment about it being kind of like a plantation mentality, something to that degree, and the owners had a fit. The one we were talking about, who's one of them, off the blank, and it might have been another owner, and I guess how they was seeing it is the fact that how most, I would say, a good portion of probably a lot of privileged people already see it like, how can you complain? These athletes is getting life-changing, money, and a lot of people aspire to be that. How can you complain that's a mentality, and they go down their list of all the things they had, whatever. But it's the failure of like, this is still a small percentage of people who even make it to that level as far as being an athlete, a professional athlete in general, right. You know what I'm saying? So, and the people who's paying them, they are like, I'm gonna say they billionaires compared to millionaires. So it's almost like in a sense of ownership. So I'm not knocking anybody we all probably had dreams of being a professional athlete. That's, hoop dreams, football dreams, whatever. So there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a parallel, you know what I'm saying, in regards in terms of just like the way he was comparing, like, seeing the athlete, how they can jump, how fast they can run, everything else. And I get to a certain extent, like you're about to invest, money to buy an athlete, you know what I'm saying? You want that person to, be, the best person for your organization as well. But some of the similarities still goes to the point, like when some of these slave owners were owning slaves and trying to see, okay, we got a big, strong buck and he can pick these, pounds, and they basically measure him and what he can do. Or if you got, a woman slave and she got, childbearing hips and stuff like that, he's measuring these things because it's also a process of making money in the future. Okay, so she's got, she can probably bear 10 kids. That's more product for my, my plantation. So it could be a parallel to it.
There is a
parallel. And Kwame, you know what too, real quick. So when you make that point, and this is something I say this in my classes too, man. But see, Black aggression is $1 billion business, right? Anytime we are combating, and Coach, I like to say this too. So obviously behind the arc is a 3-pointer. It's worth 3 points, right? And when you write on that box and you get that layup or that when the dunk, you get the dunk off the box. I like to say, well, is the crowd more excited behind the 3-pointer, or are they more excited behind that dunk right in front of the goal? And typically, a lot of times, if you notice, the 3-pointer, it'll get some butts out of the seat. It'll get them excited. But that aggressive dunk, it makes everybody just go wild, but it's only worth 2 points. But what is it? What is it about that Black aggression that makes that dunk so much more impactful than those 3 points? You see what I'm saying? And same thing with reality TV. All that, you couldn't pay me to watch reality TV. My damn head to start hurting. All the fussing and all the arguing, but the ratings are super high. You see what I'm saying? And I think that goes back to that whole plantation and buck breaking thing, where it's something about that Black talent and that Black aggression, man. It's a $1 billion business. So.
Yeah. Well, when we was doing research for this, somebody had told me about this topic. Someone had told me I should get the book by Michael Bennett.
Okay.
What is it called? The Things That Make White People Uncomfortable.
Right.
They talk about this very topic, especially related to sports. So.
Right.
If anybody out there want to get that, I think we should, check it out.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, before I switch to topics, Coach, I did want to ask a kind of sports related question. Like with this, I'm just curious because you're a coach and you might look at way different than somebody who's just a fan. What are your thoughts about the transfer portal though? Like how do you see it as a benefit or you see it like as not a good thing? I have mixed feelings about it as a fan, but of course, I'm not a coach, and that's not my career. So I'm just like, what's your thoughts on that?
What's it called? The transfer portal?
The transfer portal, when people can just transfer without having to redshirt and sit out a year before they play with a new team or a new school.
Yeah, I don't. You know, again, it's a deeper issue for me.
Okay.
Because, and I'll be completely honest with you, I've never told anybody this. I always kind of keep my mouth shut on it. But I think the transfer portal is just a injustice to these young student athletes. Right. And don't get me wrong, I'm pro student athlete. Why? Because me being a student athlete got me into the position I am. So anything to help and benefit these guys, I'm all for it. But sometimes it's like your mama telling you, no, you can't go to McDonald's, and you think she's the worst parent in the world. She's really saving your life, right? She's really saving your life, right? And so here's how I look at it, man. I come from a place where, I'm just fortunate to be here, right? I was born in Boston in Orchard Park Projects. Then I moved down to Raleigh in Lane Street Project. So I spent over half my life in poverty. So I quickly identified with that quote from Jay-Z. I seen who dreams deflate like a true fiend's weight. I seen it, right? And so part of my purpose and my blessing from God, I feel, is that he allowed me to help these young Black men and prepare them for life by using basketball as a metaphor to do that. Right. That's my purpose in life. That's how I feel. With that said, it's only 1% that go to the next level. Like it's
1%.
Like 1%. So when the NCAA granted these young men and young women the opportunity to just go to a school, if they don't like it, transfer to another school, play the following year. If they don't like that, go to another school and transfer the following year. And then you have people who really don't understand the business of basketball, and they really don't care, but they'll comment on it just to generate some traffic through their page and momentum and say, yeah, that's right. Make sure the kids can do what they want to do and let them transfer and da da da. Well, let me tell you how this is where it takes a U-turn, right? Let's say a kid, because I was all for a kid transferring and having to sit out 1 year and then play the following year, right? I was all for that. But the transferring and playing right away, I'm not for that. And here's why. Let's say a kid comes out of poverty or these unfortunate situations. He's the first person in his family to go to college like I was. Let's say he goes to NC State for 2 years. Let's say he has 50 hours at NC State, but now he wants to transfer to North Carolina Central University, right? Let's say he got 50 hours at NC State. He transfers to North Carolina Central. We're not going to accept all of those credits because we're a different institution, right? So now we might accept 40 of those 50, but now he's able to play right away, right? And in a perfect world, let's give him 30 hours.
Right.
He has 70 hours. Now he leaves North Carolina Central and go to Duke, right? They're not going to accept all those credits because it's a different institution. So let's say now he has 65 total credits, but he's a senior, right? And so now let's say I give him another perfect double semester. He gets 30 hours a year. Now he has 95 credits. And he's short graduation 30 credits.
30.
Hey.
What happens to that kid? See, nobody ever talks about it. Nobody tweets on behalf of that kid when his career's done. He can't find nobody. And that's how hoop dreams deflate like a true fiend. Now, what does he do? Right? Because
what does he do?
He has a 2.1 GPA. Well, he went. He was just barely eligible just to play basketball. Nobody gave a damn. The girls don't love him no more because he ain't got the sweatsuit on and he ain't a pro. Y'all know how that one go.
Yeah.
What corporation is gonna give you a job with a 2.1? right?
Right.
And you're short your degree. You don't even have a degree.
No,
So
they didn't have
now
a degree.
you're no better than the guy that dropped out of your high school in 10th grade and became a plumber.
Right.
He's actually way better than you ever be.
Right? And
Right.
you and I both know what that kid that I'm talking about, we know what he looks like.
Yeah, we do.
And so that's what I'm standing up for.
Mm.
Now, let's take this scenario. He's at NC State. He stays 2 years at NC State. He decides to transfer to North Carolina Central, right? We take 40 credits again. But now he's at North Carolina Central. He sits out a year and get a chance to re-earn a lot of those credits. So we give him 30 credits. So now going into his junior year, he got 70 credits. Now he's playing the following year. He got 100 credits. Now he's playing the following year again. He's at 125. He spent 5 years to get 4. He's earned this degree. He's a graduate. His mama's proud. Mission accomplished. If he make it to the NBA, God bless him. But if he don't, we got something you're gonna fall back on, and you ain't leave here without this degree.
Absolutely.
Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so these are young black men, and even the people that so-called supporting these guys are getting lost, right? Because everybody focuses on the 1%, right? The John
1%.
Look, man, I had John Wall. Me and John Wall from the same neighborhood, man. Right? Like this was the #1 player in the country from the time he was 13 years old, right? So nobody's gonna have the John Wall career. That man would have made $250 million, $300 million, whatever. But everybody want to celebrate John Wall, but we don't celebrate the million more that came and tried to be John Wall, and it ain't work out.
Right.
And it didn't work out.
And so that's and y'all know how it is. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's how it is. I was a damn good basketball player, but I ain't make it to the NBA, bro. And I tell these kids, look, none of y'all better than me. I hate to play that card on them, but sometimes for the truth. And what our young kids are missing, and they're missing the truth. As black men, they're missing the truth, man.
Yeah.
And that's my job to give them the truth. And the truth don't always feel good. You know what I'm saying? I showed them something the other day, and Jermaine, it's to your point with the owners. I told our black, because I heard them complaining, like, man, there's in the locker room complaining about something, bro. Right? And I spoil these dudes like no other.
Yes,
man, these
you do.
dudes get 14 pairs of sneakers.
Yes, you do.
Right? They get 4 meals a week after practice. Right? They have no reason to complain, but they're just complaining. Right. And I showed them a picture. And I told my manager, I said, I want you to go to Google Images and Google July 4th, 1776. And Google and print off the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And I bought it to practice. And I said, y'all doing all this complaining. The biggest trick the devil ever did was try to convince a black man that his feelings matter in this world. I said, so I'm going to show you this picture. And I'm going to show you this picture. And I gave all of them a picture of the Declaration of Independence. I said, now I want you to point out when they say your forefathers of this country, this is who they talking about. Right. So all I see is a bunch of dudes with some wigs, some stockings, and some capri pants on.
That's right.
On the table with some ink feather pen. So I want you to point out which one of these dudes wrote you into legislation and said, hey, man, before we sign this thing, before the ink dry, let's make sure we include LeVelle feelings in here. Like who in here was advocating on your behalf? Please point at them so I can
let me know.
Please.
Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. Right. Half of them own people that look like you, so they didn't care. So let me know. And it's a reality check for these dudes, man.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, I'm in a unique position because I'm the last one that care about them. See, when they leave me, you ain't got another coach.
Right. This is it.
Right.
This is it. And y'all know how it go, man. Like it's even if you got your stuff together, them first 2 years out here in this real world is real.
It's real.
Ain't it?
When you got it together.
When you got it together.
Imagine going out there when it ain't together and you don't have a clue on where you're gonna. You don't even know how to cultivate and foster relationships. Now the girl that you thought loved you so much, she don't love you no more. You know what I'm saying? She and nor should she, because you promised her you were going to the NBA. So technically you lied to her.
I wasted my time.
You wasted your girl time. The only reason she winked and allowed you to do what you did was because she thought you was going to the NBA. But now that
you was hot at the time.
It's over. And I
Right.
tell them, man, the only people that's loved, like y'all thinking you're loved in this country, man. Like the only people that's loved in this country is a woman, children, and dogs.
And
Right.
dogs.
That's
Yeah,
it.
That's
Right.
Men
it.
are only loved under the condition that they can provide something.
Absolutely.
Period.
And coach, you know
Daily.
what?
All
The
these
episode,
nuggets tonight.
I preached this on our last episode, coach. And again, I'm so happy that you came. And every time I think about you, coach, I think about when Donald Williams used to come to McDougal Gymnasium when Donald was playing at Carolina. I think it's your
That's my
cousin or
first
something,
cousin.
right?
That's my first
Right.
cousin. Yeah.
And I used to talk to Donald when you was on the floor doing your thing and stuff like that. But my point is, I told Jamie and I told Kashawa and Kwame, as Black men, we have to do a better job of supporting one another without the heavy lifting. Meaning, if someone is in position to assist someone in any capacity, we gotta do it because we're all we have, man. It shouldn't be a lot of headache to get to someone. I mean, I know we're all doing our things, but if somebody's doing something substantial, man, we gotta support it, and we should be able to find a way to be a part of it because you just said it, coach. No one is going to emotionally carry us. It's hard enough just existing out here today and
Yes.
in these spaces. And coach, I know you can relate. I'm in white space all day. I'm the only Black man in my department out of 130 people. I'm the only Black man in my department. So, and that's why I'm so passionate about education. I'm so passionate about learning, and I'm also passionate about assisting Black men, and just being available when I can be. You know, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
No, that's love, man, and it's much needed. And honestly, Jay, my whole thing is it's not, we already know what we're up against, right? Y'all can talk for 10 minutes, I can talk for 10 minutes, and we'll get a bunch of cosigns like, yep,
Yep.
yep, because we already know, right?
Yeah.
But my thing is, when are we going to come together and resolve this issue, right? Because I told someone the other day, I was like, let me ask you something, man. I said, if, let's say you met a young lady and you were single and you lived at home, and I'm 48 years old, right? So let's say you lived at home and you 48 years old and you still living at home with your mom, and allowing your mom to carry you and do whatever, and asking your mom when you're gonna go buy something to eat and all, all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I said, do you think this woman would ever respect you? And he was like, nah. I said, I believe that's how white folks look at us.
Mm.
We have the ability to do stuff on our own, but we still in our mom's
house
with the mentality instead of just uniting.
Right.
Man, like, I don't mean to go back, but the one thing I loved about the Black Panthers, man, they organized and they tried. Like, they were so young and they were so aggressive, but they organized and they had a plan, and they established breakfast programs, and they got off their ass and stopped talking about it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Very
We
simple.
got resources to put together to establish banks, our own schools, our own hospitals, our own media, right? Think about the media. When you hear a report about a Black person, it's from a white media outlet.
Right. Who released the report? Yeah, I agree. Yes.
They tell you whatever they want to tell you.
Yeah, I tell you everything.
And how they want to
30
tell
people.
Whatever it is. And we know how powerful the media is, right?
Yeah.
Because no one cares about the truth anymore when the lie is way more entertaining. Right? So you can we see it every day on social media. We'll see two people fighting, and the caption might be, homie just beat up this girl because she called them an N-word or whatever. We don't know if that's true or not, but just the caption
is enough.
Has planted the seed in our mind that we're like, yo, get her, dude, get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
That's been the trick that's been played on us for years. You follow what I'm saying? So my thing is, when are we going to come together, establish our own, and I always go after the children, like, let's do this for the kids, right?
Yeah.
And you build a strong child base, then you're building a strong family network. And I try to do as much as I possibly can. I don't try to be a talker. My foundation, I try to touch everybody, from fathers to women to children. I try. I'm one man. I ain't trying to save the world, because I know what happened to Martin, right? And so,
know what
because
happened.
Black people, at the end of the day, we have shown that we don't even appreciate you.
No.
Right? We just celebrate Martin Luther King Day, and I'm looking like, everybody cherry pick a Martin Luther King quote and post it on social media.
It's the same one.
I'm like, why is his family, why do they ever have to pay to go eat anywhere? Why do they ever have to pay mortgage or rent or wherever they stand? Because they lost their father, because he was sacrificing for us. So why haven't we started GoFundMe from now until perpetuity for Martin Luther King? But he died broke. Malcolm died with $200 in his pocket. You follow what I'm saying? So it ain't no value in that neither. So I ain't trying to lead an entire race or whatever. I'm just saying, as Black men, I think now we have no excuses. We got enough resources to bring this together.
And access.
Right? And access, right? To bring this thing together and really make it work, man, and decide what we're going to do. But what we do, we laugh at people when they try, right? We're laughing. I seen people laughing at Dr. Umar, whether you like him or not. The dude is trying to get a school.
He's trying.
They laugh at him, bro. And so I'm like, we don't even know what we want, because we're our own worst enemy. So I don't even put it in the owners of NFL teams, or the owners of NBA teams, or the presidents of PWIs, or whatever. I'm always one to believe that the solution is with us. We're smart enough, we're educated enough. We have way more opportunities and access than our parents and grandparents ever had. They paved the way to get us here, right? I was in Atlanta. I saw Tip, David Banner, and Killer Mike. They were talking to Dick Gregory one time, right? And this was, at the end of Dick Gregory's life. Dick Gregory went up to them and said, y'all doing the same thing that we did.
The same thing? Fuck marching.
He said, nigga, get off your ass and do something. That was, he ain't had no like, y'all marching? Y'all doing the same thing that we did. You know what I'm saying? Y'all protesting. Y'all doing the same thing that we did. Like, oh my goodness, that was real. Right? So we're trying to do the same thing 60 years ago, bro. And it starts with ownership, like you said, Jay. At the end of the day, we just got to figure out what life is really like. And for us, it's really a Monopoly board game, right? And the problem with us is the premise of Monopoly is to go around the board, gather as much land, wealth, railroads, water, utilities that you can possibly gather, and own it in possession. And then if you gather property, you build the property up and hope somebody land on your property and pay you rent. And that's how you create generational wealth for yourself. Right. The problem with Black people is we've been going around that board of Monopoly and we ain't owned nothing.
No assets.
We ain't bought nothing.
We just keep passing go. We keep passing go.
We're just hoping to land on free parking and community chest. Right? When you do that,
keep getting go to jail though.
This property, and two things gonna happen: either you going to jail or you going broke.
You gonna pay some rent.
That's what's happening to Black people. So we don't have any assets, right? A wise man, this OG in my hood, when I was 10 years old, man, he told me something that hurt me to death, but I was like, damn, it was so heavy. He was like, yo, you know your great grandfather? And I was like, nah. He said, you don't know his name? And I was like, nah. He said, you know why you don't know his name? I said, why? He said, because he ain't leave you nothing. Damn. Right? So I was like,
thankfully I know mine. He left us something. That's crazy that you said that. That is crazy.
Crazy, right? My entire life I just been working to leave my kids something.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's the big picture of where we are as Black people, right? We're so distracted. We're so emotionally attached to bullshit, right?
Right.
Because we're so caught up in the memes and we share stupid shit, and we all guilty of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But we miss out on the big picture.
Right.
The big picture is mobilizing and creating a better tomorrow for our kids and their kids.
Right.
And we ain't done that. We're dropping the ball with
Right.
it. Yeah, we got it. But
Right.
God forbid, if any of us leave, then what they get to do with it.
Right.
We're talking about that school system where it got a history book of 5 Black people. How do we change that?
Right.
Let's start our own school. Right? Let's start our own schools across the country. Right? Organize that. Well, now we can teach Black history. And so our kids can feel better about themselves. Our kids will feel better about themselves and not just want to be a rapper or entertainer or athlete if they knew that their ancestors created math and science. They knew their ancestors built the pyramids, which is the most foundational thing on earth. I don't care what storm comes, what hurricane comes, what tornado comes, the pyramids are You follow what I'm saying? So all we want to do is entertain. That's all we want to do. And so now when they say shut up and dribble or shut up and dance, we get mad. And they ain't got no right to say that. Please don't get that twisted. But that's all they see us as is entertainers. Right? Because we got to create a bigger picture for our youth, man. So it's I don't want to out-talk everybody. My bad.
No, it's all good. You good. You definitely giving us what we need.
Well, yeah, we're definitely talking about like you said, the leadership and stuff, and that's kind of going to the next topic in regards of identifying leaders of a friend group. And it could be, like you said, Coach, it can be, you identifying your players, just people on campus, or just in general, like just going out and you can like tell this person is actually the person that's kind of making things happen within that group. What are the signs and what are the, I guess the signs that you see, like when you can tell that person is kind of running the show as far as the group goes? I don't know if that.
It's hard to identify. I just spoke to some middle school and high school coaches. And the first question what they coach asked is very similar to yours. They said, Coach, how do you deal with leadership? How do we get leaders? And I said, when you know, let me know. Because you're talking to the leader of North Carolina Central basketball team right now, right? And the reason is like these kids, these generations, and this is what I mean as parents, and the kids always get the blame, right? Let me be clear. The kids always get the blame, but it ain't the kids' fault. It's our fault.
Yeah.
Right? It's the people in positions of leadership. It's the parents, number one.
Right.
Because all of a sudden these parents want to be people's friends. They want to be their child's friends, right? That's the first problem. It's the teachers, it's the coaches, it's the next door neighbors, it's the people in the community. Nobody holds these kids accountable anymore. Kids have always been crazy and rebellious. We were the same way. The difference is our mama ain't compromised.
Right.
Difference was when we walked in this store, 5 feet before we entered, our mama said, don't you
touch
nothing.
Nothing.
Yep.
And she meant it.
Right.
Go in there and pick something up, and where you act up at, that's where you got your ass whooped. You follow what I'm saying? I ain't condoning ass whooping and all that. I know it's a different thing, but my point is, our mamas ain't play. Our grandmas ain't play. If I didn't have a father, but even the fathers that I knew, they didn't play. Right? And they relay that message to your teachers. Right? So you couldn't go to school and disrespect no adult. You couldn't disrespect an adult nowhere in sight. If so, the adult would beat your ass, and then your mama and
perfect stranger.
Would beat your ass. There was no compromising those things. We had leadership qualities because we were latchkey kids. Meaning we got home before our mamas. Right?
And take care of our siblings.
If you had any siblings, if you were the oldest, you had to cook for them. You had to make sure everybody bathed. The emails back then or text messages back then was mama writing a letter on the back of a bill saying this house better be clean when I get home. Such and such, this trash better be taken out, and so on and so forth. And so it was, you were the leader of the house because you gathered everybody, said, look, man, mom gonna be here in 45 minutes now. Like, look, I can't go through this. Right? So you gathered it. Then in the summers, we went outside and played all day. You weren't in nobody's house. You went outside and played. Right? So you learned the social skills to resolve conflict. Sometimes you had to fight it out. Sometimes you had to talk it out. But 15 minutes later, you were friends, right? And it was crack being sold. So it was, listen, yo, we ain't going over here. We going over there. Let's go up here and hoop. Let's get away from here. Let's go over here. But we ain't going there, so on and so forth. Those are just leadership skills, right? But nowadays, these kids don't have any leadership skills. Why? Because they stayed inside their homes. They had helicopter parents. They never went outside and solved any kind of conflicts, right? They don't know what rejection feels like, right? And that's because you got to fail before you leave. You got to know what
you got to feel it.
Like. How did we learn about rejection? When you walk to the mall, if there was a young lady that you were
and she told you no,
your ass had to walk over there. If you had to hit her with your stuff, you had to be like, listen, you got to be like, especially if she with her friends, you know she gonna act a fool.
Right.
Like, man, but you got to walk over.
You got to eat it.
Yeah.
Right? Ain't no Instagram to go
follow
her.
DMs.
Big game to her, right?
Behind the keyboard.
Help, but notice you from over there. My name LeVelle, and I know you got to go right now, but I would love to get to know you better. And she either gonna say, okay, here's my number, or I got a boyfriend, or
Right.
A lot of times, if you got that, you had to walk back over there. Your boys laughing at you.
Your head down.
What did that make you do? It made you go home and work on your game and come a little stronger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now you in the mirror practicing on the next.
You in the mirror now.
Right. That's leadership because you had to learn from rejection.
Right.
These kids don't have rejection. Everybody has always
at all.
Them, right, from rejection. And you learn, and growth comes through failure when you're out your comfort zone. So now we're asking them to come and lead 15 other guys, and they ain't never led themselves. They ain't went to no boys clubs, no Cub Scouts, no Boy Scouts, no karate. They ain't done nothing on their own. Their mama was always able to text them. That was too. My mom ain't even know where I was, but she knew where I was gonna be before that street light came on.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's leadership, knowing
that's leadership.
What's the first thing of leadership? Being on time.
Yeah, be on time.
Absolutely.
Miss the street light if you want to. Right. So Quan, to answer your question, it's harder and harder and more difficult to find leaders in this world because we're not producing leaders. We're producing followers, right?
I got 1,000 followers.
Based on how many followers you have.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants to follow somebody.
Right.
I'm seeing people follow more people than they have on following them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this society has seduced us into thinking like, yo, man, we don't need to develop young men or young women. Man, I got a single mother celebration I do every year, man. And the first year, I didn't think I could get 100 women. And I got 100 women. We're going in our 9th year. Last year, we had 225 women on our team. I said, look, man, some of these women are really beautiful in here from the outside aesthetically, right? I said, but they're all single. Now, I ain't blaming all my brothers, right? But let's just say it's half and half. Half they fault, half the woman fault. I said, eventually, a man done quit on them somewhere. And that man quit because he quit something when he was 10. And then he quit when he was 15. Then he quit when he was 20. So now it's easy for him to quit on his family.
Nothing. It's nothing. Yeah.
It's nothing for him. Dude can walk away from his family and be like, you know what? You got it. I'm done. Like, I could never do that to mine because from the time I was 5, 6 years old, I had what they now call tough love. And that's the way I was raised, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, man, because it gave me the principles of manhood to go out here and be a leader, a head of household, a father, a husband. And it ain't no complaining, ain't no excuses, man. Like you can, when Wells Fargo say this mortgage is due on the 1st, you can call them on the 30th and give them every excuse you want to. They'll listen. They'll be like, okay, when can we expect this payment?
Right.
That's just how it goes. I tell my team, look, man, y'all spoiled. In 3 months, you seniors, you can't swipe your ID and come in this cafeteria and eat for free no more.
It's over.
You don't appreciate this cafeteria meal because you get it every day.
Right.
But the worst meal you'll ever have in your life is the one you can't afford.
Right.
Try that.
Right.
You want to see some nasty ass shit. Try that. This cereal, these waffles, and these
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's an insight into our world, man, and it's no knock against the young men. You know, it's just that. I'll end by saying this, like, you know, we have these parents, and we call them helicopter parents, and they just, you know, those of us who went to North Carolina Central University, what made us men and handle our business is the first week going to that financial aid office and handling our problems. Our mama would go do that for us, right? And so I had a kid And his mom, like a couple of years ago, his mom called me, and he was going into his senior year, and I was like, he was my point guard, and his mom was like, "Vel, you just too hard on him. Like he can't never do nothing right, and blah 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 blah, and like you just too much on him. Like he can't even play like that, and blah 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 blah." Being a mama,
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, Jane Doe, you attractive woman. If you don't mind me asking, are you married? She said, no. I said, do you have a boyfriend? She said, no. I said, you attractive woman, why not? Oh, well, coach, you know how it is. Like these Negroes out here, they ain't got no responsibility. They just they only hold themselves accountable. Da, 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 da. So she went on. I said, right. I said, so why would you want me to raise your child to be somebody that you wouldn't even date yourself?
Damn.
It was sheer silence. She said, Coach, you got him. I'm sorry.
You got him. Got him. Make me a man, please.
You got to give sometime, man, because again, I'm 1%. So I don't get the John Walls.
Right.
I get the Paul Walls.
Right.
So
sitting sideways.
You ain't gonna have the luxury of sitting back on 300 million and just chilling. When you got 300 million, you can do whatever. Like whatever.
Right.
But you ain't gonna have the luxury of doing that, man. So you're gonna have to play by the rules that everybody else plays.
Right.
That's what I try to do, man. So it's hard. It's really hard with what we do, man. Especially when you care, because I care.
Right.
A lot of coaches don't care. They really don't give a shit.
Right.
They don't care, but I care, man. So I can't turn my back on them because I don't want nobody to turn. I know that's why God put me on this earth. So when you see the championships and all that, that's fun, and that's what we go after. Don't get it twisted. But it's the bigger lessons in it, man. Like because I care so much, and when you care, you do it for the outcome and not necessarily the income.
Right.
That's true, man. That's good.
Right. Man.
Hey, Jamie, how do you identify a leader? And like I said, it don't have to be in, any kind of way.
If it's girls, it's the prettiest one or the ugliest one. For obvious reasons. If she's pretty, she's leading them. If she's pretty, she's leading them. They're following her. If she's the ugliest one, she's pretty much the fullback linebacker. Nah, don't touch my friends. So they need her. Therefore, she's the de facto leader of the group.
And she's the one got the keys. She the one got the keys when you see them when they out.
Yeah,
she's
driving. Let's go. We gotta
she's
go.
Driving. She's telling them we came together, we leave together.
So she's the security of the group.
She's the leader. She's the de facto leader because she's security, and we're gonna follow what she got to, what she has assigned for us. That's your leader. If you're looking for, if it's guys, it's the one with the car. It's the driver, because he gets to say, we come in, we going here.
Right.
But these kids don't even have to get out the room no more. They don't even have to go. I mean, I'm talking about college kids. They don't even have to leave campus. I mean, they stay right where they are. They don't want to go to Duke. They want to stay in their room and play games or be on their phone. That is, I picked that up when I was at Central. It was like, look, she's the leader. That's the one we need to attack, to separate the ones and get the one we want.
Yeah, definitely. Befriend her first, you know what I mean? And then look at the other one and go for
you gotta infiltrate.
You gotta infiltrate. You gotta pull the leader to the side and make some decisions for her, help her. Hey, look, we wanna and then she'll make a decision for the group.
There you go. Jamal, what about you, man?
Yo, he said make a decision. You said me? You were breaking up.
Yeah.
All right, so listen. So first of all, Coach, I want to tell you, we ain't got to have this conversation all the way now, but I had a point guard at the university in my class last semester. He did absolutely nothing in my class. I tried to help him coach. I tried to set some stuff to the side for him, but try to figure out if he was going through something. But he didn't do anything, man. And I used your name and I showed him some pictures of my university because I wear all the NCCU stuff in there. But he was like, man, he checked out on me. Anyway, so I'm speaking on him when we talk about leaders. Here's something that I look for. I don't care if it's a woman, a man, a Muslim, a Christian. A person who sees failure as an opportunity, I think to me that's a leader. So if folks who complain a lot, I can't do that. I can't have you in my orbit. Folks who see the glass half full and not half empty, those are the folks I'm genuinely attracted to, because it's just innate in me just to grind and figure it out. The cloth I'm cut from and how I was raised, and being raised by, old heads who hustled, that's just always been in me. So and even when I hear Christians talk about certain things, and long story short, they falter when it gets hard. And I'm like, damn, everybody wants to be a Christian until it's time to be a Christian. Like, figure it out, right? So if you can see failure, a person who sees failure as an opportunity, I think at that point, for me, that's what they're leaders in my eyes, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
That makes, I can, definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I'll go now. I'll kick it to you since you know. But yeah, kind of the same way. I think like I think it depends on the situation. And I think also that on the situation, I think it's times when somebody may lead, also a time to follow. And like I said, and I don't think and I don't think necessarily like the person who's most loudest, or or the person who's in the quiet. I mean, you can kind of observe and just kind of see how the people around that particular group is orbiting and who they kind of making decisions with. And like I said, it might not be the person with the keys, but the person who might be leading might be like, yeah, it's time to go. And the person with the keys, whoever else going to follow suit as well. So, but also too, it might depends on the situation where they at, and it might be a time where my homeboy got it this time. I'm gonna sit back and let them rock. You know what I'm saying? So I think this depends on the situation and how they particularly move. At that point. But some people, I guess, now I'm thinking about it. Sometimes in every situation, they're trying to be, to be the leader. So,
and you got to have a sense of like, as a, and y'all probably know this. One of the hardest things to lead is grown people. We talking about athletes in my case, but I got grown people too that I got to lead. I got coaches, I got secretary. I got a construction development. Like, leading grown people is hard because they're set in their ways, right? And so, it's simple for me, man. I just think you got to have a sense of humility, and I think you got to be ready to adapt, right? So it's crazy because my secretary said this the other day. She's been working with me for 4 months, and she just stopped the other day. She was like, "Coach, you're the best boss I ever had," and I just laughed, but I knew what she meant, right? Because when I go to lunch, I buy her lunch every day. I go to lunch, I ask my entire staff, "Yo, y'all want something? That's on me." So I'm bringing them back lunch, right? Because I know that's how I would want to be treated. And so they don't always say, "Yeah, we want something, coach," but I bring back and I go get it, right? But just knowing that they spend countless hours busting their butt for me, I can show that love and appreciation by extending that olive branch. Right. And I buy them. I try to give, and I try to give to her too. Right. Here's a secretary who, like, normally she's been asked to go out there and get the lunch.
Go get it. Yeah.
Right. And so one thing I learned, man, I was in Detroit years ago, and I was in the booth, the press box, and Barry Gordy was up there. And I like many of y'all, man, I just grew up on Saturdays. My mama just played Motown records, and we just cleaned the house. That's what it was. Smelled like Motown and Pine Sol in my house. While we watching wrestling and Soul Train. That's what it was.
Yep.
That's what it was. And so I was crazy about Motown and the sound, man. So I wanted to visit the museum, and now I bump into Barry Gordy. And Rasheed Wallace introduces, and Detroit. He was like, "Man, what you do?" And I was like, "Man, I'm a coach." And he was like, "Oh man," like he was fascinated by it. And I was like, "Man, you ain't got to pretend." He was like, "Man, there's no difference in what you do and what I do." I was like, "Man, Mr. Gordy," I said, "Mr. Gordy, I don't mean no disrespect, but bro, 500 years from now, they're gonna be playing these Motown songs, and everybody's gonna be singing them. Like I can't sing the thing." He's like, "Yeah, I get all that." He said, "Man, let me tell you a story." And he started telling me a story, and it's one of the best things I've heard, and I applied every time, right? He said in 1951, man, there was a kid named Stevlin Morris, right? He said, man, the kid wanted to sing, but I ain't want him to sing because he played 13 instruments. He says, I was like, yo, just play your instruments. He said his mom was kind of crazy and on my back because she had a posse with him and wanted him to travel. She wanted a tutor and all this type of stuff.
All of
He
it.
said, so I invested 4 years or 5 years into this kid and I ain't get a return on my investment. Right. He said one night he goes on Apollo, he starts singing, the crowd goes at it, they love him. He said we rush him back in the studio and we make an album and to establish that momentum. And he said years later the kid sued me for $2.5 million. I'm jacked up. I'm like, damn, who is that?
Yeah.
Who is Stevlin Morris? And he was like, you don't know him as Stevlin Morris. You know him as Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
Right. So I like, damn. He said now this kid done sued me for $2.5 million in the city. He's like, that's a lot of bread. That's a lot of bread now.
It's a lot of bread right now.
And he said, man, I was hurt because I invested so much. I believed in him when nobody else believed in him and so on and so forth. So he was like, I was so hurt that I told everybody, don't bring your kids up to work. No, ain't no more Motown picnics. Don't bring your kids. Don't ask can you go see your kids. Don't bring me no kid acts. Don't do nothing. I don't want to hear nothing about no kids. He said years later, his assistant, Suzanne DePass, comes to him and says, Mr. Gordy, it's 5 dudes over here from Gary, Indiana. And you got to come see these kids. He was like, didn't I tell you don't bring me no damn
kids?
And she said, Barry Gordy, this her exact words, Barry Gordy, if you don't get your ass over here and look at these kids, he said that's the only reason he got up because that's the first time she ever cussed at him. He said, yeah, he see 5 kids, he see one of them performing James Brown, he runs back to his office, get the camera and record it, and he said he thinks it's the greatest thing ever. Those 5 kids was the Jackson 5, the little one is Michael Jackson. He said, VL, the moral of the story is, if I would have allowed the pain from Stevie Wonder to dwindle and consistently remain in me, I would have never discovered the greatest entertainer of all time. But I had to adapt. And he said that's the biggest leadership trait you're going to have is the ability to adapt. So when we think about HBCUs, what's the trait that leaders lack? The ability to adapt. They will quickly tell you, man, we've been doing it like this since 1985. Well, that's the damn problem.
That's the problem.
You know
we talked about it 2 weeks ago.
We just talked about this.
We just talked about it.
One, you living in a world with, man, you got to change so much because this stuff like an iPhone. The iPhone 5 was hot when you got it 2 years ago.
When you got it.
But what they on the 14 now?
Yes.
They're laughing at your iPhone 5. That's how much this technology and this campus have to adapt. So you got to have people that's humble and willing to adapt to it. And that's the greatest lesson I learned from Barry Gordy, man. Like, yo, adapt. Don't get caught up in setting your ways. Just because it worked 5 years ago don't mean it's a new generation, bro.
Right.
It's new. And y'all hear it all the time when we hear there's producers or rappers that we used to love, but they can't connect with these young people because they still think you're supposed to rap like Nas.
Yeah.
Like, man, he don't sound like Nas. Why would he sound like Nas?
Supposed to sound like Nas.
Ain't no more projects. Everything gentrified.
Right. I'm good now.
So he ain't got no Illmatic in him. All he can rap about is 3,000 square foot homes and
yes,
right.
The
suburbs, MTV,
whatever. You see what I'm saying? So you got to be able to adapt in any field, man. I just think that's the biggest quality of a leader.
That's real. Elastic
is real talk.
Yeah, it would. Man, let me say this. Okay, so leadership comes in so many different forms and times. I think we all have the ability to be leaders. It's just a matter of when it's going to show up. But I feel like for me, when I identify a leader as someone who can guide, someone who can motivate, someone who can inspire. You know what I mean? Those are the qualities I look for in a leader, which goes to our next segment, which is our dose of dopeness segment. And I feel like let me say this, Coach, the dose of dopeness segment tonight is so well deserved because you have just really educated me personally on a lot of stuff that I never thought about. You put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. So our dose of dopeness segment is always deserved, but it's hella deserved tonight. So without further ado, Our dose of dopeness goes to a father, a husband, a brother, a coach. I mean, the list goes on and on. It just goes. So the dose of dopeness for this evening goes to none other than Coach LeVelle Moton.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
You brothers recognizing me, having me. It's a joy. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, I got the utmost respect for you guys, man, and what you do and how you shaping lives and changing the world each and every day, man. And we're just all trying to do our part. You
For
know.
sure. Yeah. So this is the time. This is the time when you let the world know, and our listeners, what more about you, what you have going on in the future, what you're looking forward to in 2023 with the team, with your foundation. Like this is the time.
Yeah.
So you have the floor.
It's dope, man. I appreciate it. Obviously first things first, the main thing is the main thing, and that's the basketball squad, man. So, we're coming together. It's a tough conference, right? But I love my team, man, and we're just trying to figure it out right now. I had another good win. We should be 3-0. We dropped one to Morgan State.
We was there.
We was there.
Yeah. We was there. Yeah.
Yeah. That hurt, man. But it's those life lessons, and sometimes you got to learn through discomfort, right? Growth never comes from your comfort zone. And we got a good Delaware State team coming in here on Saturday, and so we got great fan support, man. And our standard is championships. Period. I told those guys, when you put pen to paper, you know what it is, and that's just what it is. We've had enough success that we kind of spoiled everybody, but it's pressure is a privilege, and so
pressure is a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege.
I like that.
No doubt about it, right? And so they're working hard to do that, man. And we're working hard to graduate them and, get them and be successful citizens and productive citizens out here in this world, because that's super, super important and imperative to me. My Vail Cares Foundation, man, that's something that, means a lot to me, man, because I come from humble beginnings, and I come from a place where people always ask, like, why you do so much? And I say, because so much was done for me, right? Man, y'all don't, like, you have no clue on how poor I was, right? That's why I tell people, like, you have no clue on growing up the way I grew up, man, right? And I wouldn't trade it for anything, right? And now you bring in the crack era into that, man. It was a mess, right? But I survived it, God willing. I had an incredible mom, had a loving grandmother, and there are people who still in that community with the same struggles that you'll never hear about, because they made me a fish sandwich and sold fish plates for me to fund my AAU tournaments because I ain't had the money, or buy me some new shoes. Or when my mom went home, they let me go to their house and eat. I put my knees under their table, right? Our neighborhood was so crazy, man. You could order a pizza, and once they asked you your address for delivery, they said, "Nah, we ain't coming over there." So pizza wouldn't even deliver, right? So it was crazy. And those people still remain in those communities, and I try to go back and help them, man, because they supported me when I was a kid. And I try to help them through, I got my Vail Cares Foundation, where we do a back to school giveaway and give school supplies and 700 pairs of shoes and haircuts and manicures and pedicures for the young men and women. I have a single mothers event where I honor 200 single moms every year. We probably give away over $100,000 worth of prizes. I collaborated with Google, so I could, I don't want to be nobody gatekeeper. I meet these amazing people, but my thing is, okay, so what? You met the vice president of Google. What you gonna do with that? Like, that's how, right? And so my thing is, you can't lead the people unless you can feed the people. So I called them one day. I said, man, since our TP is becoming the number one place to live in America, and it's essentially becoming the Silicon Valley of the South, I said, how about you give me some scholarships where Black people can take certification Google courses in the field of tech, and at the end of those certification courses, they can be certified in project management or web or IT design or whatever it may be, right? I said, I'll get the people, you just provide the scholarships. And they was like, you would really do that? And I was like, yeah. They said, we've been trying to do that forever. And so they wanted to collaborate with me, and I knew why they wanted to collaborate, because I got the street cred. I get it, right? They was like, we couldn't get 100 people. I said, man, just let me have it. We had 383 people in the first hour, right? The scholarship. So now you go through that program, and it'll take you probably 6 to 8 months, whatever it's going to be. But at the completion of that program, you'll now be connected into Cree, Lenovo, Cisco, one of those Fortune 500 companies, and now you're making $85,000 to $94,000, and now you're in the tech world, and you just switch and transform careers, right? So that's what we got to kind of do for our people.
That's awesome.
That talk, but 99% of the problems in our community is plagued by the lack of resources and finance. Give people jobs. That makes it a little better, right? Right? The only people that say money ain't everything, shit,
we ain't got it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you got it ain't everything, but it's a hell of a down payment on all the other problems, right?
Absolutely.
we've done that with Google, man. I connected with Amazon, same thing. A Central graduate, D.O.P.E Congleton, she's the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We grew up together, man.
Really?
And this is a beautiful Black sister, man, that's just navigated her way through the ranks of Amazon, man, and she's given and providing opportunities and resources for people of color, employment. Like she's in D.O.P.E Congleton, look up the name. Like, so she's incredible, man. I got a TV show called The Connect that I went into the school system, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It ain't nothing but Teen Summit. Y'all remember
Teen Summit?
Right.
Yeah. My version of Teen Summit, right? Where we give these kids a platform to live in a judgmental space, a no judgment space, right? Where they can communicate, because these kids ain't built the way we were built, right?
No.
They were really going through some things, and we seeing it on the news and the internet every day, and our heart breaks. So you got to allow them to speak openly and discuss their problems and so on and so forth. And it's been great, man, just establishing that. We got so much going on, man, and I got literacy programs where I partner with barbershops in RTP, where, you know, when kids go in there, instead of looking and listening to grown men talk about Beyonce and Cardi B and Rihanna, right? Now these kids, I partner with the library, and they got books within these barbershops, and the kid can read a book and read the book. When he get in the chair, if he can comprehend what he read back to his barber, then we pay half of his haircut, my foundation.
That's nice.
That's what's up.
Comprehension and so on and so forth, because again, Jay, it's all about that education, right? And so you're just trying to make it fun to them and so on and so forth. And, you know, those are some of the programs that we established with the LeVelle Kids, man. And so my partners and I, we also started a construction development company. We saw all this gentrification happening in our old neighborhoods. Y'all seen it. It's happening in every city across the globe.
You don't believe it.
And it goes back to that Monopoly board game, where who's benefiting off of this, right? And so we wanted to provide real affordable housing.
Right.
And I hate the term affordable housing, right? Because if you can afford to live in a house, then that's affordable housing. I live in affordable housing, right?
That's right.
But,
yeah.
You know, these prices done went through the roof. The taxes done went through the roof. And we got to provide a space for, like, what good is a community if the teachers, the cafeteria workers, the landscapers, the plumbers, the EMS workers, the firemen, the police, what good is a community if they can't afford to live in there? They can't afford to live
in the town, let alone the community.
You know what I'm saying? So think about, God forbid, somebody's grandma having chest pains and they call EMS, and EMS got to come from 35 minutes away for a commute because they can't afford to live around the corner, right?
That's right.
Y'all know how it was, man. Like, think about your elementary, high school, even the cafeteria people, the lady that served the green beans, the custodian at your high school who kept the school clean and the toilets clean. Like, those people are special. Those people are valuable too. So they need an affordable space to live, right? And so back in our day, they used to catch the cat bus, but no more transit like that, right? I don't see that happening no more neither. So we put our minds together to kind of affect change and provoke change for a bigger cause, man. And so I got a great team. I ain't doing none of this by myself. So I ain't proud of this. But I got a great team and a great group of individuals, man. But I just try to do my part, because anybody can sit around a computer and talk about a problem, but it goes back to, hey, what we gonna do about it? We know the problem. We're going to barbershop and talk about the problem all day. Now we'll leave after we get our cut. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm on, man. So I appreciate you guys giving me that opportunity.
We thank you
Absolutely.
very, very much. Like I said, we thank you for coming on. We thank you for being that leader that we were just talking about. Thank you for leading our school to championships. You're doing a lot, man. We really thank you, but most importantly, we just thank you for being a Black man who's trying to make change in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's very important. So
I appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you do, man. You ever need me, y'all know how to get in touch with me. Let me know.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank, LeVelle for kicking it with us tonight. Listeners, make sure you check him out on his IG, LeVelle Moton. Make sure you follow us 4 Times Dope Podcast on all social media platforms, IG, Twitter, and Facebook. And please do not forget about our merchandise, our 4 Times Dope merchandise that you can get at subject to change at www.shops2c.com. And until the next time, we are out.